Hello, everybody. It's Roberto. Welcome to Mindset Recovery. If you have been following this channel for any length of time, you'll know that I have been struggling for over 2 years to get clean. I have been working a 12-step program. I started off in AA and did some outpatient therapy, and I struggled along for about 2 years and then ended up switching fellowships to NA, which, in my opinion, is basically the same program. It was based on the same principles. It's just changed from alcohol being the main thing that the addict struggles with to NA is an all-inclusive program. Alcohol falls into the category of substances that one is too many and 1,000 is never enough. But the main difference in the program for me, I think, is probably because of my locality, but I just really felt welcomed and the love was overwhelming when I walked into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, and I got acceptance and love and encouragement that was unparalleled in my experience in any time in recovery. Did have something similar happen when I first started my outpatient program. Our group was pretty close knit, but I don't know if you've ever spent any time in any kind of recovery, but there's a turnover in that. And there were a lot of turnovers with the clinicians, and nothing against any of them, but the first clinician that I had, she was like a superstar, and our group was so tight knit, and the acceptance was a little overwhelming for me. People walk around telling each other they love each other and tell me they love me. And, I didn't feel any love for anybody in there. When I first got in there, I was pretty self-absorbed. I understand what they were talking about now. It sounded stupid and ridiculous, and I was very skeptical of that. Coming from a background of addiction, that was just BS that people said to each other. But, having a genuine feeling of love for my fellow man was something that I had not experienced. And now that, so anyway, when I got into Narcotics Anonymous and plugged in to the program, started working it, got a sponsor, started working steps, going to meetings, started off with 90 meetings in 90 days. And just, I went through a multitude of sponsors in AA and a couple different sponsors in NA until I found somebody. And I think I've mentioned it in here before, but it is said in recovery and in other spiritual disciplines that, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I found somebody who has been sponsoring me for the last 6 months or more. And I've really meshed with this person. They're engaged in my recovery to a level that I personally needed and encouraged me, held my hand a lot during the first part of my recovery. Still is available to me, but I do not have to rely on him as I did in the beginning as much. But I still talk to him on a daily basis. We either talk or text. We're going over steps together, so I meet with him to go over steps. Just finished my second step, and he's working. Now, sponsors have their individual ways of doing it. A lot of sponsors will work the 12 steps and then do the 12 traditions, from my understanding. He's got me involved in service commitments, which has really helped me stay clean. I chair meetings in this fellowship and in another fellowship at my church. I'm going in on a hospital and institutions panel. I've just started that recently because there's a clean time requirement, but I'm going into currently it's like a detox at a hospital and observing people bringing an NA meeting into that facility so that I can learn the protocols and get some experience. And then, now that I have 6 months, when I finish those observations, I'll be able to share be a primary person at the meeting, and have people going in and observing with me potentially. But that is something that I heard from speaker meetings, which I watch a lot of. Speaker meetings are good because there's somebody who has a lot of experience and sobriety, usually clean time, what have you, that can share the strategies that they've utilized and learned over the years and experiences on how they stay clean. And, I got into this program only knowing how to use and not how to stay clean, despite continued failures and efforts, and just trying to, in my own strength and self-will and determination, trying to beat this disease. And I have been unsuccessful doing it on my own. So Narcotics Anonymous is a we program. We cannot stay clean by ourselves, but we can stay clean together. What I can do by myself is I can get high. And so when I disengage from the program, stop going to meetings, stop calling my sponsor, stop doing the daily things, the daily disciplines that I've learned to do, I am in danger of going back to my old ways, because, my brain had been in the loop of using for over 3 decades. So that's all ingrained in my psyche. And so what I've had to do is learn a new way to live. That's what NA talks about, and that no addict has to use ever again if they utilize the toolkit that they are taught in this program. And so a sponsor is a person who has experience doing that, has clean time, works the program, works steps, has a sponsor, and they teach you how to do it. And if you do what you are suggested to do in this program and you follow it, I'm living proof that you can go from a hopeless addict to a dopeless addict. I know it's cliche, but it's the truth. But I need my medicine. I still need my fix, because drugs are not my problem. What I've learned in this program is that I am the problem. And the way that I was trying to deal with me was by getting high. And that was not a successful strategy over the long term. In the beginning, it seemed to help. But, towards the end, I had lost all hope, and I was struggling to try to fight this disease on my own, and it was killing me. I ended up having a stroke. I almost died. That gave me a little fire under my butt to start to work this program, because I had been in and out of the rooms over most of my using career, and I knew where the answers were. But, so I'd come back and I'd try it for a while, and then I'd give up, never really doing everything that I was supposed to be doing what I wanted to do, customizing the program to fit what I wanted it to be. Not a successful strategy. But what I can attest to is that once I started working this program the way that it was designed to be worked, and following the suggestions of people who had clean time, I have seen success. Clearly, 6 months, longest by far that I've ever been able to stay clean. I had short periods of time, 30 days or less, mostly, where I would always run back into the arms of a disease that's trying to kill me because it was too hard, in my opinion. But once I made up my mind to surrender, which that was what I kept saying, I was just praying, teach me how to surrender. And it was much simpler, it turns out, than I had in my mind, because I thought once I completely surrendered that I would stop wanting to use and it would be easy. Well, spoiler alert, that is not how it worked for me. When I finally surrendered, it was when I decided that I wasn't going to use no matter what, and I was going to trust this program and the people in the program and my higher power to help me stay clean. And, it was a rocky road there for a few months. I'm not going to say that I'm completely out of the woods at 6 months, because that is not the case. My disease is still alive and well, still has lots of suggestions for me, but I know that ultimately, this disease's goal is, they say that it's all jails, institutions, and death are the ultimate things that you reach if you stay in active addiction. And the only other alternative is finding a new way to live. And so the new way to live is, for me, the 12 steps are teaching me who I am and what has motivated me to get into addiction in the first place, because I wasn't messed up because of the drugs. I did drugs because I was messed up. So I have to learn to delve into, with the help of a sponsor, those inner motivations and deal with those, get them out in the open, pray about them, allow my higher power to help me defeat those things through his empowerment in me. And I get stronger every day. So thanks to this program, I have gotten 6 months clean today, exactly 6 months. And I'm going to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting today to celebrate and pick up my 6-month chip with my fellows, my brothers and sisters in the meeting, who support me and love me, care about me, and help me. And what happens is, what I do different today, the main thing I do different, I completely apply myself to the disciplines of this program every day. Gratitude is very important to me. Waking up every morning and thanking my higher power for getting me through a day clean and asking for guidance that day. It sounds trite, but I started off with mindfulness meditation. And, when I first started with that, I was not good at it. Anything hard takes discipline and practice and applying the principle over time. I doubt that there's anyone like in a sport that, walked on the basketball court or the football field and was a super powerhouse. There may have been, but I would say that would be few and far between. You would have to be a phenom. And, like I said, there may be someone here and there, but they are the exception. So if you don't know how to do something, my experience is that I have to have somebody coach me and teach me how to do it. And so in Narcotics Anonymous and AA, my biggest problem was when I was struggling and it got hard, I tried to do it on my own, and I would do it as long as I could. And then when it got really hard, I would just say, screw it. And I would go back to my previous behavior pattern. And today, the biggest thing is, if I'm having a rough day, because rough days still come in recovery, my life is, astronomically better than it was in many ways. Relationships with other people and my family, my health, everything has improved to a great deal. But the difference is, if I'm having a rough day or my mind isn't right, instead of going to the bar or going to the ABC store or calling the dope man, I call somebody in the program and I talk to them and I get it out. Or I go to a meeting and I talk about it. If you want to use, that's the place to get it out. And somehow, I don't know how it works, but pain shared is pain lessened. I get it out. Sometimes people give me, experience that they have on the same issues, and it helps me. Sometimes just keeping my mouth shut at a meeting, I hear people sharing about things that I relate to and how they dealt with them. And, it just helps me. And, when I get off the phone with another addict, if I started off wanting to use, inevitably every single time, I don't want to do that anymore. And now with the steps, it's a daily thing that I can do. I can go back and analyze what's going on with me, because, if I'm not happy with something and I'm upset about it and unable to accept it, the problem lies with me. That's what I've learned. It's something in my thinking. It's pissed me off. Somehow it's, my basic instincts have been offended or whatever it is. And this program is teaching me to delve into that and figure out what's going on. And so it has, enabled me to live my life on God's terms instead of my terms, because, using was just like, I don't like this and I made it through this day and I feel like crap, or this is just too much for me to handle. And my go-to was always using. whether it be alcohol or whatever I could get my hands on. I was a chronic weed smoker from the time I was in my teens until I was in my 30s. That was my thing. If I was having a rough day, I got high. And, it seemed to help. But eventually, it wasn't enough. And so then I had been a drinker, but alcohol seemed to get me to oblivion. When I was so miserable, alcohol was the go-to. And then my problem is, I like other substances. And so alcohol just took away all my self-control. So I'd start off, I'm just going to have a few beers and forget about this day or whatever I was drinking. And the next thing you know, I was calling the dope man, and it took its toll. I got to be an old man, and my body just threw up the white flag and said, sorry, man. And I had a stroke. And by the grace of God, I survived that stroke. And I knew that I was spared for a reason. And I believe that my reason is to help other struggling addicts get a hold of the concept of surrender and, save their lives by letting their higher power save their life, because my higher power loves me, and he loves me more than I could even imagine. I'm not capable of comprehending it. They say in the program, it's the God of your understanding. Well, my experience, my God is too vast for me to understand him. If I can understand him, then he ain't really that all powerful. But I understand who he is, and he's loving and caring, and he wants to help me. He has the power to help me. But something that I heard, a quote from a recovery message, they said, if God doesn't show up, we can't. And if we don't show up, he won't. And that's exactly what was happening to me. I was stuck in that loop, waking up in the morning and praying and saying, God, if you don't do something, I'm going to die. And, I didn't hear his voice or anything, but it's become pretty obvious to me that he was saying, if you don't do something, you're going to die. But if you do something, I'll help you. And so my experience in the last 6 months has been that he was faithful to that promise. And that when I truly decided to let go and quit, because, I think the reason that I never stopped for long was because, not only do I have no self-control, I'm powerless over my addiction, but also fear. I didn't think that I was going to be successful. So I self-sabotaged, and then I could tell myself, well, see, I can't do this, and I have to use. And I know today that that is a lie. I don't have to use, clearly. Sometimes I want to, and sometimes I think about it, but if I can make it to bed every night without using, then I have a chance of doing it again the next day. So anyway, I hope that you are benefiting from the videos. If you've watched them, I know that when I go back and watch them, they might just be for me. I don't really have any followers, but when I go back and watch them, I can see progression. And through my struggling until I got to the point where I was seeing success, and then that emboldened me to continue on this journey, because I had an addict in a meeting tell me if he could show me a snapshot of my life in 5 years into recovery, that I'd never want to use again. And I have no idea what that really means, but it makes me very hopeful. This dude's got like over 20 years, and his life has changed dramatically. And I see it in people in the program, and it gives me hope, because I know it's real, and I know this program works. So I would encourage you, if you're in this program or a similar 12-step program, just to keep going back until your brain starts to believe that it's possible, seeing the miracles around you. And, keep fighting the good fight. You can reach out to me at my personal email, paster67@hotmail.com. You can reach out to me on this platform. Can't guarantee you that it will be a timely response. Eventually I will see it. But if you reach out to me at my personal email, P as in Paul, IAS as in Sam, T as in Taco, ER67@hotmail.com, and put Mindset Recovery in the subject line, I guarantee you that I will contact you back, because I can only keep what I have by giving it away. And I wish you the best of success. And I try to encourage you that this program works, because I'm living it. I know it works. And this is Roberto signing off.